Hello and welcome to this live stream brought to you by the TechResort Elves. I'm Sean,
And I'm James.
and today we're going to be discussing some of the news in the tech industry.
The stories we are going to be talking about today are AMD Ryzen, the positive and negative impacts of drones, a cool BBC microbit project, driverless buses, and the Mac Pro.
Yes, so this is the first live stream that we've actually done as TechResort, so this is something completely new that we're actually having a bit of a play about with, a little experiment just to see how everything goes. So James, is the audio all good on your end?
Yeah,
Yep, okay. So,
except it's incredibly quiet, but
okay, I just turn, what, you or me?
but mainly you.
Okay, that should be sorted now.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so before we begin today, we have now started moving from Kestrel House into Sussex Downs College, and hopefully our session should be up and running fairly soon. We'll send out any updates that we get as soon as we can, as soon as everything's all settled down now. But if you go to our Facebook page, www.techresorteb.com/Facebook, you can see some pictures of our new room there. Okay, so shall we jump straight into the first topic then, which is the launch of AMD Ryzen 5. Now, we did talk about the Ryzen releases in the last episode of Tech News, which was actually a few weeks ago now, quite a few weeks ago now, which we filmed and then edited down because we found that we were talking for actually quite a long time. So what we're now doing instead is doing it as a live stream just to see how sort of more natural the conversation is and just test it out really. So fingers crossed, this should now go to my computer screen and you should be now able to see article on the AMD Ryzen 5 processor. So James, what are your thoughts on this?
Um, well, I think it's going to be quite good because if you look at the gaming performance of them,
Yeah.
on modern DirectX 12 and Vulkan titles, they're as good as an i7.
Yeah, they are,
And,
which is
and even in older DirectX 11 titles, they're only a couple of frames off.
yeah, which is quite surprising really, because I thought maybe the optimization wouldn't work out quite as nicely, but they're quite nicely priced as well, which is nice to see from.
I'm looking here and we've got, yeah, very good performance.
Yeah, and incredibly good price. It's on par with i5. It beats most of the i5 cores, and it's basically on par with the i7s as well, which for half the price, maybe even more than that, or less than that even, of some of the Intel Core i7s, this is actually really nice to see from
On the
AMD.
DirectX 12 benchmark for Battlefield 12, Battlefield 1, sorry, they actually edge out the i7. It's quite
Yeah,
good.
so obviously this is still very early days. The Ryzen 5 series of processors was actually released on the 11th of April, so we're still only 2 weeks into its release, so there's going to be plenty of firmware updates for it to come, BIOS updates and such. So once they sort of iron out any sort of small bugs, I reckon this could be a big seller for AMD, because the only real processors they've got in this market, sort of between the i3 and the i7, sort of the i5 range, if you like, which is sort of where the
Mm.
vast majority of users are going to be at.
Not like the Extreme £1,000 Intel Extreme Edition ones.
Well, no, that's just a waste of money. But just my views. So the vast majority of users are going to be somewhere in that price range. So Ryzen 5 would be good for just a bit of casual gaming. The gaming benchmarks on it are really good. Office work would handle it no problem. Bit of photo and video editing. So they've put it in quite a nice market where at the moment we've currently sort of got the FX 6300, which is quite an old processor. It's
And terrible at gaming.
yeah, because it just never got
The single,
optimized.
the, the single, no, the single core performance is just dreadful.
Yeah, Yeah, which obviously perhaps the games could be optimized a bit better, but that's what, a 2011, 2012 chip? I may be wrong there, but it's definitely quite old.
Yeah, they are very old, and the FX 83 XX series are just basically an incremental upgrade of the older ones, which are equally as bad.
Yes, so I've also got some benchmarks which I can put on screen now, hopefully. So let's just drag that across there, good old Opera. So you can see if you go to, well, pretty much any website on the internet will actually have these, but I'll just have a look. I'll have to go, let's have a look here. So you can see here, 4K, we've got some pretty nice benchmarks there. So in
Yeah.
blue is the i7 6700K. These are the ones you were referencing earlier.
Yes, I
Yeah,
believe so.
so they are basically on par with Intel Core i7s at a much cheaper price. Like the top end Ryzen 5 is what, £220, I think.
The Ryzen 5 1600 in there is about 220 right now.
Yeah, so
1600X about 260. There still seems to be low stock on them, but the 1500X is 180,
yeah, which is incredibly good price. And how much is the
and they're all on.
6700K?
The 6700K is like 300 quid,
Yeah, so there
and
you go.
the 7700K is also about 300 quid.
Yeah. So I'll just leave a few benchmarks up on the screen there. So even in Cinebench it's doing well, which is, pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's the probably going to be the single core. Is that? Maybe
Yeah,
not.
yeah. So anyway, we'll make this point about Ryzen fairly short because we did talk about Ryzen quite a lot in the last episode of Tech News, which was filmed on the 9th of March and then uploaded on the 11th of March. So quite a quick editing turnaround. So,
Yeah,
that video editor, he must be sort of quite good. So
in here, Sean.
yeah, right. Okay, so what shall we talk about next? Shall we go and have a look at the drones?
Yep.
So we have a
More
couple of
drones. They seem to be in news all the
stories.
time.
Yeah, so we have a couple of stories about drones actually this week. One good and one not so good. So James, if you want to take the lead on this one.
Well, we start with. This is going to be another plane. This is going to be another plane hitting one, isn't it?
Yep, or rather a drone hitting a plane.
Drone hitting a plane. No, sorry. And there has been yet another near miss at
Yeah,
Heathrow Airport.
yeah, which is sort of quite alarming, really, considering
Mm.
how often this happens, which is quite fairly often.
Yeah.
So, Civil Aviation Authority, there have been 4 near misses recently where drones have been flown close to aircraft. Which, like, from my perspective, you've just got to have a tiny bit of common sense. Most sort of
Yeah.
cheap drones can't really go as high as more professional drones, but I don't know the exact model of drone that was used in this one, but it got up to 10,000 feet, which was high enough for an aircraft to have a near miss with it. So you have drone operators have just got to have a bit of common sense, and this was at Heathrow Airport. This wasn't at some sort of remote airfield somewhere in the countryside. This was at Heathrow Airport, and it genuinely put the safety of the plane at risk. So you've got to perhaps maybe question the
Sanity.
not only that, but the security there. Because if
Yeah.
you're allowed, I'm assuming they didn't come through the airport with a drone. They might have done, but
Well,
if you,
they won't be flying it from anywhere near the actual airport itself. They'll probably be like in the car park
yeah,
in the house.
yeah. So if someone's allowed to get a drone that far out into Heathrow Airport, you've got to have a look at maybe what could they do to prevent that from happening. So
But
yeah,
in reality, apart from short of being flown into an engine, I mean, planes are designed to withstand bird strikes, so any sort of smallish medium drone isn't really going to be a problem.
but okay,
But
that's
I
fine.
don't know how someone thought it would be a good idea, because at Heathrow Airport at 10,000 feet.
Yeah,
That is,
but also you made the point about how it's not such a problem now. But what if in the future drones get sort of bigger, especially
yeah,
sort of the professional camera drones? What happens then?
that's where the problem lies.
Unless planes
I
start
think
being
those are
more
like
resistant.
those usually have built-in GPS which stop you actually going anywhere near actual airports.
Yeah, well, that could, if not, I'm not sure if that's the case or not. I don't know, but if it is or if it's not, there certainly should be some sort of software update that could say, right, if we're in say 100 meters of an airport or airfield, cut the drone, return safely to the ground, power off.
The Here we go. The DJI Phantom 4 has got no-fly zones in it
Yeah,
that prevent you from flying anywhere near an airport.
yeah.
Um,
See, that's the sort of thing that should be implemented, I think.
I think the problem is lots of drones these days are just glorified RC quadcopters, which don't actually have GPS in. So,
No, exactly.
but
But
those aren't going to get anywhere near 10,000 feet. So,
yeah, but one of the Civil Aviation Authority rules is you are not allowed to fly anywhere near an airport or where there might be aeroplanes. So someone's clearly breaking the rules here, and I think there's going to be sort of a debate soon as to whether, or this might have already happened, as to whether any drone owner should have to be registered and have to sort of acknowledge the rules before they can take a drone out, because there have been 59 incidents of drones nearly hitting planes, which is quite a lot, and that's just in the last year, so April last year to April this year. So it's happening an awful lot, so perhaps there should be tighter regulations for this sort of stuff.
I don't really see that working though too well, considering how drones people already have and the complexities of doing it.
And cost of doing it as well, so
Mm.
perhaps
Especially
not.
when, at the end of the day, people will still be able to buy these off eBay,
Yeah, like I did.
unregistered. So,
Yeah,
we've got,
yeah, we don't really know how that's going to happen, but perhaps drones that do have the functionality, like the Phantom
DJI,
4, yeah,
they have
perhaps,
built-in no zones.
yeah, that should be sort of a standardised thing, I think. Anyway,
Yeah.
but
Right, moving on to the slightly happier story
drone
about drones.
story.
They've been used in the Swiss city of, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Lugano? Lugano?
Lugano? I think that's about right, actually.
Eh. To deliver medical lab samples.
Yeah, see, that's a much better story about a drone, where you don't need sort of over-the-top security to prevent it. It's common
Especially as
sense.
these need lab samples usually are time sensitive and
Yeah.
need to be delivered fairly quickly, but are
Yeah.
usually very lightweight.
Yes.
Like, a vial of blood
Yeah. Yeah.
or a slice of liver from biopsy isn't going to weigh nothing.
Yeah. So.
This
Yeah.
seems to be a very good idea of a use of drones.
Yeah. See, this is the sort of thing that drones should be used for, and in reasonably safe conditions, this is fine. So it just uses a predetermined route. There's no operator sort of navigating it around buildings. And so it's a pair of hospitals, so it's on the screen now. It's a pair of hospitals that have been transporting samples between the two buildings, and it's actually faster than using the road, which I think maybe the
Well,
Swiss have got to look at their road system there.
the
Because,
drones can fly straight over in a straight line,
yeah,
and
yeah,
there's
they
no
could just take
traffic
the
or
B
speed
line.
limits.
Yeah,
Yeah, as the crow flies.
yeah, exactly. But
I mean, you think about how much time it takes to get out of the hospital car park.
yeah. So this is the first trial run that's actually taken place in an urban area, which is quite interesting because I'm not sure about how tall the skyline is in the Swiss city of Lugano, but I'm assuming because it's a city, it's got sort of at least a few skyscrapers.
They're probably designed to fly straight over them, though.
Yeah, they probably are, but remember, still, what happens if something goes wrong with that drone? It's something worth looking at, but it's the first run in an urban area where there have been sort of lots of other tall buildings in the vicinity, whereas this has been done before in rural Rwanda. So
I think there's going to be many skyscrapers there.
no, no,
Rural anywhere.
yeah. So it's good that this sort of thing is taking place, and it does show a potential good, realistic use of drones. Like, this is just between two buildings, but say they hooked up a third building to the system, or something like that, you could then be using it effectively to deliver files between one another. And this is actually quite an alarmingly similar concept to Amazon's delivery idea. Do you remember they had those adverts saying how they would use drones to deliver packages?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably that the packages for them will be quite heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, small items, sure, but
yeah, anything more than a small item, it would struggle. And also, what's worth noting is if something does go wrong with the drone, each drone has a little parachute so it lands safely, which I think is great. But whoever designed that, they've got that in mind, which is good. However, as good as this story is, it's important that we don't start using this sort of all the time, because otherwise we'll have an airspace just full of drones. Because imagine if, say, offices started sharing this sort of system. So if you've got sort of two regional offices that need to share files.
The internet?
Okay, what if it's something that has to be delivered, an item?
Yeah,
Say,
in which case,
important paperwork.
eventually they are going to have to figure out who controls and rights the way, but
yeah, so
a long way from there.
A pair of hospitals and the first project of this sort to be happening in this area, that sort of thing's fine, because you'll only sort of have one drone in the sky in that city in any given time. But if everyone starts using it, then it's just going to become too clogged up. So we will have to sort of start looking at tight regulations, so maybe limit it to sort of emergency services or something like that. Or you'll have to pay for a license or something. It's just worth something thinking about. Not right now, but maybe in sort of 10 years. Certainly.
Right.
So
now,
so I'll just point out one more thing about the article. So in the press release, they said trained hospital staff will be able to load the drone independently with a safety box, and it's actually done via a smartphone application, and then it will just fly autonomously along the predefined route. So it's all set out for it. It's just got to fly in the route, which is pretty good, and it can go at a top speed of 36 kilometers an hour. So pretty good. So, this
not
is
too bad.
Sort of quite a nice use for drones. So, are we moving on to the next story?
Yep.
Go for it.
This is just downright cool. If you want to bring it up on screen.
Yep, in just a sec.
Someone chained 1,000 microbits together and used the LED pixels on them as a giant screen.
Yep, here it is now. It was 1,009.
Yeah.
Actually, and I think that includes the one master device as well.
Yeah.
Which controls all of it. Otherwise there'd be one anyway. So 1,009 microbits, and you can just see on screen now that picture. It must have taken him so much time to do that. So it runs at a maximum of 12.
Yeah, 12
frames per second, and it's 2.2 meters wide.
That's just. We've got a bunch of those hanging around the office, but nowhere near that many.
No, not 1,009. We could maybe sort of string. I don't know how many we have. Maybe 20 together.
But maybe make it noughts and crosses.
Yeah, we
get
could
9
do
of them.
noughts and crosses. Yeah, we could do that. That's something that we'll have to think about in the future. So last year Keytronic wired 1,009, so they were actually behind the project. So that explains why.
It was the co-founder of Keytronics.
Yeah. So
who did it?
Yeah, I'm assuming he didn't sort of just buy over 1,000 microbits. Otherwise, that would be quite a delivery to take in. But yeah, so 5,000 bolts, 230 meters of cabling, and maximum frame rate of 12 frames per second. So the one master device uses the tilt and then A and B buttons. So it's a really cool project, actually. And it does show what's possible to do on the BBC Microbit. Like, quite a few people, because this was aimed at sort of year 7 children in their first year of secondary school, sort of think shiny LEDs, but it's actually incredibly powerful. It's got Bluetooth and accelerometer, so it can be used for all sorts of things. Like, I know here at TechResort we hooked one up and had it controlling a Scalextric track.
Through pulse width modulation and a HV driver, that was good fun.
Until you put 30 volts through it. So... but this
I think it was the problem was how they were wired. The I think the die wouldn't kick in if the current was too low.
Yeah.
30 volts was okay, I think.
Anyway, it was quite fun though, them all flinging off at me.
Because anyway. They were being powered from the 5 volts from the H-bridge drivers, but yeah.
Yeah. So this sort of thing just does show what it is possible to do with a microbit. The answer is quite a lot. And it's really good that they've managed to network them all together. Because I haven't actually seen that done.
I'm curious as to how they're doing it.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we can... I'll see if I can find it, actually, on the... I'm not sure. My best guess would be... I'm not sure, actually. My best guess would be Bluetooth, surely.
I doubt it, because there's 1,000 of them, but...
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. It's true.
I'm not sure, I can't see... They're probably like I2C or something. You have 1,000? I have no idea how you do 1,000.
No. Well, I think we can sort of stick to our 9 noughts and crosses.
Yeah.
Well, it'll have to be 10 so we can have the master device.
Yeah.
So we can stick to our 10 noughts and crosses and they can do their 1009 Space Invaders game. So,
yeah.
You know, we've got to accept our limitations, but something like this, it's really cool. And hopefully this sort of thing will inspire children to learn how to code. Because that is quite a big thing. A big push. And that was the whole point of the BBC Microbit and also the stuff like the Raspberry Pi and things like that. So if kids are seeing this sort of awesome thing being done, who knows what it could lead to in the future. So, shall we move on to the next story then? Which is...
driverless shuttle buses.
It is indeed. So... I think these were being tested in London, weren't they? Yeah, so...
Yes.
Yeah. So, let me stick this up on screen now. So... members of the British public are getting their first extended trial of a driverless shuttle bus. So it's a prototype shuttle on a route in London, and it can go as fast as 10 miles an hour, so that's its absolute top speed. Which, you know, is fair enough, because I believe it's actually running in a fairly pedestrianised area around the O2, I believe. But there are special shuttle lanes in place.
Yeah.
Sort of like cycle lanes. And it's worth pointing out, as with
tramways.
Yeah, as with most driverless vehicle trials, there will always be someone on board.
Yeah.
Because what happens if something does go wrong is the big question.
Is there someone on board?
I think so. Well, I think someone goes in there to use it, and there's sort of an emergency stop button. So anyone who uses it can.
Oh, you know, there will be a trained person on board who can stop it if required during the tests.
Yeah, trained person, so sort of trained to push a button.
Yeah, big red.
Yeah,
Not
the
bad.
big red one that says stop.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they have some sort of complex system of stopping it. So this is a very small trial, but I believe it's the first shuttle bus system to be done in the UK. So in that sense, it is progress. So we'll just discuss a bit of the tech behind it. So it runs using 5 cameras and 3 lasers to navigate a 2-mile path near the O2 Arena. So it is on a relatively small scale. But what is quite nice to see is that it's doing it all autonomously.
It'll probably be following a set route via GPS.
It is,
So.
but even with that in mind, it's still good that it can successfully navigate London roads. So it's still quite an achievement, and you can see up to 100 meters ahead and can perform an emergency stop if it absolutely needs to. Which, given it's going at 10 miles an hour, I'm sure it won't take too long. There has also been a similar bus trial in Las Vegas as well. So this is the first time it's come over to the UK. So it's good, but is this the sort of thing that we want to see in the UK? Because let's remember, this trial has been specifically set up for use in the UK. So I doubt this will be something that's rolled out everywhere, because simply there isn't enough space with parked cars and 2 lanes to have another shuttle lane, unless these are sort of incredibly small vehicles, which they're quite small, but
you're not going to get many places with dedicated shuttle lanes.
no, you're not. Around, like, for the
Is it even opening on public? I don't think. Is it even on a road, or is it just on like a pedestrian path thing?
I'm not sure actually. I'm pretty sure it sort of goes on a road, but it is mainly sort of pedestrians and cyclists. Yeah, it is mainly a pedestrian area, but sort of I think cars can go there, but it's mainly a pedestrian area. So it seems to be good, but will this ever take off? We discussed this in the last episode, didn't we? And you said no until we get dedicated road signs and stuff.
Well, until the inter-car communication they're testing is developed fully.
Yeah,
they were talking about creating systems so the cars could communicate with each other, like if there was an incident up ahead,
yeah,
or where they were.
yeah, yeah.
But currently, like the Teslas have automatic driving, but apparently that's been like plagued with problems.
Yeah.
Just due to sort of the sheer unpredictability of motorways and public roads. So
yeah,
I think it will come eventually. Inevitable at this point. But
I'm not sure it'll actually take off, to be honest. I can't see it ever. Maybe I'm being skeptical, but I can't ever see it taking off.
I can, but not until like the technology and the infrastructure's there to sort of support these things.
Yeah. And also vehicle-to-vehicle communication, unless we get sort of big partnerships between manufacturers.
Well, it wouldn't shock me, because within cars there's plenty of standardised things, communication on cars. So
there is, but
like the CAN buses.
Yeah, I still can't see it ever taking off massively. I can see it being potentially useful for something like the O2 Arena.
Sporting events, yeah.
Yeah, for the O2 Arena, maybe taking fans in and out or something like that, or if this just goes to sort of the nearest tube stop or something like that. I could see that being useful. Rather than... Or maybe for disabled people who can't navigate the pavement so easily. I could see that being a potential use for it, but I can't ever see it taking off sort of big and nationwide. I can't see that happening. So, do you want to move on to our final topic of the day?
MacBook Pro's mistake, says Apple.
Yeah. So Apple have made a mistake when they say that.
Yeah.
So let me just get the link up.
I don't think that's the exact words they used, but
yeah,
the infamous trash can from 2013. Is that the problem was, unlike that, the nice big GeForces you can't upgrade it very easily.
No.
I think they made some rubbish excuse about thermal constraints or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said.
Yeah, which is utter rubbish because since 2013, CPU and GPUs were requiring less power output and less heat.
Yeah, like
So how they had thermal constraints, I think it's just too expensive because none of it is standard.
No, like take Ryzen for example. That requires less power, some of the chips, than both the competing
And the
Intel
GPUs,
chips.
and it's just
Yeah, and also we have a Mac Pro at TechResort, and they, I think it was the G5.
I think it's the G5, the Power PC, the big silver ones.
Yeah, there's very little sort of
Uh,
standardized, like the Mac Pro, the huge case, the one with the huge case.
yes,
That one. The motherboard size, I don't believe is standard. The case.
I don't believe they're
isn't standard.
standardized, but you can use standard graphics card, like the motherboards aren't, but I think Dell use standard, but the especially in their older ones.
Yeah.
But like the graphics cards and stuff are all standard sized.
Oh
So.
yeah.
But the biggest problem is it's got to be really expensive to develop.
Yeah.
And then it's just not the amount they're selling. It's probably not worth the cost to re-engineer it for the latest.
Yeah, and the Mac
motherboard.
Pro, it's incredibly expensive for what it actually does. Which, okay, so
unless you need something very specific.
But even if you need something very specific, you could build a PC with equivalent specs that would be cheaper or on par, and then be more upgradable than buying a Mac Pro. So unless you really need Mac OS X or whatever it's called now, unless you really need that,
they are just
yeah
expensive trash cans.
Yeah, well, that's what the shape of it was. But
the firm's software engineering chief, I don't know why he's commenting on hardware matters. I think we designed ourselves into a bit of a technical corner. Being able to put a single large GPU requires a different system architecture and more thermal capacity than the system is designed to accommodate.
Yeah. I'm not been too impressed with Apple lately. Like, look at their.
Should we see the graphics cards in it?
Yeah, go for it.
The stupid. Give me a pitch. Just give me the text specs.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. We have you can only do 8 core. It's still using DDR3.
Yeah.
You can have dual D700s. So let's see. Right. How much? Give me a.
While you have a quick research there, so Apple have also lately released their MacBook Pros, which is the touch bar, which they claim to be really useful, and I could see sort of a few uses for it, for maybe photo editing and you need to adjust the saturation or something, and you could just swipe rather than use arrow keys. Or
it has the Fire Pro D700 has a TDP of 274 watts, according to Tech Power Up, and a so you say 1080 Ti.
Yeah.
Obviously, but you wouldn't be putting a 1080 Ti in a machine like this.
Perhaps more realistic.
No, because you'd be using a whatchamacallit?
Titan XP.
No, maybe Titan, the workstation card. You wouldn't be using a gaming card.
Yeah.
But if we go, I think the thermal. I think it's just like a cheap cop out.
Yeah, but obviously there are going to be thermal issues just looking at the design of it.
Yeah.
It's so small. There are going to be thermal issues, but there are huge upgradability issues. Anything at this sort of end of the market, this sort of workstation type device, I think should be absolutely 100% upgradable for the future.
A 1080 Ti has 250 watt DDP.
Yeah.
So in theory, because this is from Tech Power Up saying the D700 is designed for a TDP of 274,
Yeah.
you could in theory put two 1080s in there, but they would end up throttling, I reckon,
Oh yeah, yeah.
or it would sound like a jet taking off. But it's just, I mean,
Right.
it looks very small and elegant, but it's just not practical.
No, it's not. And another small and elegant thing that's not that practical is their MacBook Pros.
Oh, the one port.
Yeah, the one USB port, I actually made a awful joke about that in my Tech Reviews Pixel video, I think.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, why? Just.
Problem is, I get this with my Surface because my Surface has got Surface Pro 4 has got one USB port on it and a mini display port on it.
Yeah.
And like I've had situations where I've had to sort of rummage around trying to find an adapter so I can plug it into a screen because
Yeah.
most screens are HDMI these
Yeah.
days, or at worst they just don't have them.
Yeah.
Or when I've had to I've had a mouse in,
Yeah.
so I don't like using a trackpad. I can't plug a USB stick in.
Yeah. It's these sort of practicality issues. Like the MacBook Pro.
I mean, I know it has more than one port, but they're all USB Type Cs.
Yeah, which
And
haven't really taken off massively. Yeah, certainly not as
they have
much as
for phones and dongles, but like
for actual practical applications such as USB sticks.
yeah,
No.
and mice.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a single mouse which is USB 3.
No, unless you start sort of having USB to USB-C, and
Adapter, and then it's just
that's just not practical. But they also dropped the SD card slot.
yes, which is as it's targeted as creative pros, and
Yeah, any photographer trying to use that just give
It
up and
would-
buy
yeah.
a proper laptop.
I mean, I suppose you can just carry a dongle around, but at which point you
Yeah,
have a bag of dongles.
yeah, exactly. And the touch bar as well. Like there are perhaps a few good uses for it, but one of their things that they were highlighting in their marketing for this was predictive text, as if you were typing a text message. But if you're trying to type something,
You're then having to
yeah, you're just slowing down.
I mean, it makes sense on a touchscreen because you're lifting and it's only above it. But if I'm typing, for me to have to take my hand off the keyboard
And then
and
go
press
up,
it, 'cause especially as I usually touch type, I don't actually look at where I'm typing.
No.
So I don't find. I think it's going to be very niche. It's going to have some very good applications
Yeah.
where things like I'm sure Photoshop will get support for it, unless I think does CC have support for it?
I'm not sure at the moment, but certainly
Wouldn't surprise me. But
yeah.
there will be some very good uses
Oh
and
yeah,
some very
for stuff
niche
like video
applications,
editing,
but-
having sort of a cut button and a
for like general use. I mean, a touchscreen probably might be a bit more useful.
yeah. I'm not
'Cause
convinced by it.
The problem with these is it requires developers to add support for it
Yeah.
themselves, and it's
Yeah, which currently I don't think there's an awful lot of support for it outside of Mac's operating system. Which isn't really great, to be honest, because although it's a pretty good operating system, there's not a lot you can do aside from sort of the Office suite.
There's all native apps like
Yeah.
iTunes.
Yeah. So I could see
not
that.
quite
for
sure
sort of
what
a
you
stop.
Yeah, but my keyboard has dedicated media
MacBook
control.
Pros.
Most keyboards don't.
It's Apple.
Uh,
They don't do anything.
K95.
Yeah.
Dedicated Siri button.
Oh.
Scrolling through photo library in case you don't with your finger. I mean, I can do that with my touch on my Surface. So
Or you could just
or the
use
scroll
arrow
wheel.
keys.
or the arrow key. Most things they seem to do, like iTunes, yeah. Especially if you don't have those physical media keys, that was quite good.
iTunes, certainly, that sort of thing's useful, but that problem's already been addressed with specific media keys. Like, I've got my wireless keyboard here. Skip, I'm just reading these as I see them off my keyboard. Skip back, pause play, skip forward, mute, volume up, down, volume up. That's all you need.
I mean, I can see it being quite useful if you just have the laptop with you where you've got the trackpad and the keyboard. But like here in one case, they're using it so you can demonstrate accepting calls and stuff. But again, it just seems sort of like a
unnecessary gimmick.
Nothing you couldn't do. Yeah, either you could just drag your mouse on it, or if you had a touchscreen on it.
Yeah.
It just seems sort of like a slightly inferior touchscreen.
Yeah, basically.
Like, because I can accept calls on my Surface again by just tapping the screen.
Yeah,
It's just...
like I I have an Android phone. You have Windows, so it's all
Yeah.
built in, isn't it, on yours? But on even on Android, you can do that by having push bullets. You'll just get a little notification come through where you can accept or reject,
Yeah,
and
it's
that
just
works perfectly fine. So if you've got your phone sort of docked on your desk and you want to pick up a call, you can
so
do
what
that
happens?
from your computer already.
What happens if you like want to be on a Skype call and do something else at the same time?
Oh,
How does that work? It's just it just seems like a. I mean, there's plenty of good uses for it.
yeah,
Like that doesn't have function keys. You can use the Pro function keys, but I mean, it doesn't really seem. I mean, you can customize it too, I suppose.
yeah,
But it feels Photoshop. Yeah, Photoshop, Final Cut Pro, Office will have support.
yeah,
Though time frame isn't offered, the article's a bit out of date. Uh, Pixo thingy mostly just seems to be used as a timescale.
yeah,
For video, DJ Pro will be compatible, allowing you to mix songs, access various features with your fingers.
yeah. But that sort of
Again, it
thing, it's very niche.
lots of people said they'll support it, but they're not sure when. But it just seems like nothing you couldn't do that touchscreen.
Yeah. Also, I quite like this on the BBC article. What's the difference between a CPU and a GPU?
uh,
Perhaps I didn't pick the best article here,
yeah.
but yeah. So just a bit more detail about the Mac Pro, because you sort of become a bit sidetracked.
Again, yeah, you can get up to 16 gigs of RAM. Oh no, it comes by default with 16 gigs, but it can go up to 64.
Yeah.
It has a max of an 8-core Xeon, or you can have a 6-core Xeon.
Yeah.
The problem is the 8-core's only at 3 gigahertz. I mean, if you want to look up the latest Xeon whilst I'm talking,
Yeah. Sure.
you either have dual D500s
Yeah.
or dual D700s from AMD.
Yeah.
Both are oldish now. It
Yeah.
can do 3.45K displays or 6 Thunderbolt displays.
Yeah.
Now, this is what I see as a big problem. It has a max of 1 terabyte PCIe based storage. Now, not only will that be incredibly expensive,
Yeah.
but there's no option for a mechanical drive.
Yeah.
There's no option for cheap mass storage, which if you're doing video editing and stuff,
Yep.
I mean, hopefully you'll have a network server or a network drive, but
Yeah. I mean, Intel Xeons don't tend to have a huge clock speed anyway.
it's
The
only
latest one is only 2 gigahertz, but it is using a 14 nanometer.
how many cores has that one got though? Because you can get low core ones with higher clock speeds.
It's got 10 cores, 20
Oh,
threads.
10 cores, 20 threads.
And I have a look at another one, but Apple said that they will not release a new model until quote an unspecified point after 2017. So they're being
Yeah.
awfully vague about this, which I mean they are generally. I guess they sort of have to have tight controls over when stuff gets released, but the Mac Pro was unveiled in June 2013 and on sale 6 months after that, which for Apple that's actually pretty good. And not updated. It hasn't actually been updated. They haven't released a new model. They haven't just rebadged it. That hasn't happened yet. So let me have a look, see if I can find. But there you go, and have a look at another Xeon. Yeah, so this one's got 20 cores, 40 threads, 2.1 gigahertz. So, yeah. It's not a bad system. I'm certainly not going to say that because that just wouldn't be right.
But it is very expensive and it is slightly outdated hardware.
Yeah, and not upgradable.
It
If it
for
was
the
out of date hardware and
Yeah.
a bit cheaper and a bit upgradable, that would be fine.
the base model is $3,000.
Yeah, which you could now build or buy a much better dedicated workstation for that amount of money. Where I just don't. Apple, I don't think they should be targeting that sort of market with a PC that's that small. Because, okay, I see perhaps the potential uses for an office, maybe if you've got sort of an office of editors and you don't want huge PCs everywhere.
Yeah.
But if you're into sort of anything professional that would require a workstation like that, I don't really see that being an issue.
Yes. This reminds me of this, like the MacBooks and stuff. I mean, how thin it's like constant. I remember, I can't remember this phone, but it's from a Chinese brand that was so thin it didn't have a phone jack on. The
Yeah.
iPhone 7 doesn't either, but it's like, I mean,
Yeah, another example of Apple not.
at what point? You require a dongle to use wired headphones and charge your phone at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
admittedly, a lot of people might not do that, but say if you've got it plugged into a PC, although I guess you'd
say
want
if you're like
to.
watching something or you're running out of power,
Yeah, or using a battery bank or something.
it seems to be giving. Yeah, it's just it's thin enough as it is, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, like
at what point is it gonna? It's too thin
yeah,
because
exactly. Because there's a point where it just starts being thin for the sake of being thin.
yeah,
And not being thin for the sake of practicality, because practicality comes, okay, weight and size, I get that, that's fine, but also the amount of ports and its overall usability, and its usability greatly suffers if you're taking all
yeah.
the ports out of it, or most of the ports, so you're now carrying adapters with you. So the point of these small light laptops, suddenly
I
when
mean,
you're carrying 10 dongles just to use it,
in
no,
most cases, like 90% of things will be okay, but it's just like,
it's just when you actually need it for something.
yeah,
That's the
especially if
main
you're doing
thing.
video editing and stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
no SD card on the Mac, but it's just, I mean, even my Surface has a micro SD card, but it does have an form of SD card reader, and it's
yeah, I, yeah, no wonder it hasn't worked. It's, I'm not surprised it
yeah,
hasn't worked. And to be honest, when I saw this article, I was actually sort of startled. Wait, that thing's still on sale?
yeah.
Like I'd forgotten about its existence. I knew they
Mm.
had their what their desktop PCs called now.
iMacs.
iMacs. I knew they still had them on the market, but again, they're getting thinner and thinner at the sake of the
They're
sense of
not too
upgradability.
bad,
No, they're
but I'm not sure
certainly
about
not.
thermal throttling. I remember reading one article about, I'm not sure, but what iMacs and thermal throttling,
Yeah,
which especially with all these new sort of really thin devices is becoming an increasing problem.
yeah. I think at some point someone's just got to say devices are becoming too thin for them to be usable, and I think that point's going to come within the next year or so.
Yeah.
Because over the last 6 months we've had, was it the LG Gram and then Acer, was it? Or Asus, who made the world's thinnest laptop, and they were in direct competition with one
Yeah.
another, just for the sake of it being the world's thinnest laptop. I'm not buying that at all. Like, okay, I get the novelty of it being so thin, but if it's not usable, it's not usable. So,
Mm.
anyway, I think that just about wraps it up for all of the points that we've actually got scripted.
I mean, the LG Gram's not too bad because it's got a standard HDMI port,
No,
three standard USB ports, and a USB Type C. But
yeah, they've managed to pull it off fairly well. But, I mean, Apple still have a lot of room to play with.
mm,
On their MacBook, I mean, if the thinnest laptop, or second thinnest, I think now, can do that, then the MacBook isn't as thin as that, I don't think. So,
yeah,
yeah, it's something that usability should, at least in my opinion, always come before anything
I
else.
suppose it's what you need it for. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, in most scenarios, you can imagine needing to plug something in.
yeah,
I mean, needing dongles to plug. I mean, you can get special USB sticks with USB-C on. They're designed for phones,
yeah,
but they're quite expensive and just. I mean, at the very least, plugging in a USB stick and a mouse
yeah,
without dongles is unreasonable. But
yeah. That's just a fairly basic thing. So, since what we do when we make these videos for any viewers out there is we have a sort of loose script that we follow. Now, as this script was written a while ago, some stories have cropped up since we wrote this. And one of those is being, James, if you just go onto BBC News and the tech site of it, you'll see about Wikipedia and Google.
Oh, the new news. Is that the new news? That could be quite interesting.
To tackle the fake news problem. That, because it is a big problem and the internet just makes it easier. Especially
with all these sort of ad-supported, clickbaity titles, but like yeah, like a donation, like Wikipedia donation fund and no advertising, it could be quite interesting.
Yeah, so Wiki Tribune, so it's actually, I think, going to employ professional journalists.
There will be, they said they'd have like a core staff that people could currently with Wikipedia, anyone can make changes, but they are reviewed by a trusted community member or staff before going live. So I think they said there would be actual journalists, but there would also be people who could write draft articles where they'd be sent off and checked by paid staff.
Reasonable. Like Wikipedia, it's not so bad now, but did used to have a real reputation of being all fake.
My year 5 teacher. Don't go on Wikipedia. But nowadays
it's not too bad because they have sort of locked articles and stuff where it can't.
And they require a trusted member of the community or staff to check it before it goes live.
Yeah, so this could be quite good. I mean, Wikipedia, they're not doing too well sort of financially, are they? Every time I use it now, they're asking for a donation.
I think that's because they are donation funded. They don't have ads or sponsorship.
Which is fair enough. I'm totally with them on that, but as long as they're sustainable, because it is a good project. So, and also,
I think they're doing just okay. I think there's enough people.
Oh yeah, just okay then. So I reckon they'll be fine. But I think too many people use it for them to sort of fade out of existence. So, yeah, they're ad-free and free to read, so I'm sure pretty much everyone's used Wikipedia at some point. To look something up, like Google uses it now for it sort of, when you type in something that it recognises. Where Google has sort of the little cards, I'm not sure where they're called on the side of the screen.
I'm not sure, like if you Google graph of x squared or something, they have the little graph come up.
Yeah, not only that, but sort of for famous people as well. So it'll recognise it, and it does it actually pretty well now. So I think it just checks it with Wikipedia, grabs the picture, and then sticks the basic info down there. So it's pretty good. Wiki Tribune, I could see that being potentially quite good, as long as Wikipedia can manage to fund Wikipedia and Wiki Tribune as well. Whether they're going to sort of merge and become one and just run under the main website, potentially that's something they might have to do, but I think they're running sort of pretty independent of each other at the moment. Well, not independent, but two separate sites as such. So, yeah, that could be quite good. And one other story is Google search changes to tackle fake news and hate speech. So Google have pretty much complete control over how their search results rank. So there are a few things web developers can do to get it sort of at the top of the rankings.
Oh, and there's also all this stuff about the advertising on YouTube.
Yeah.
With Google being accused of not doing enough.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's that as well. So Google,
biggest problem,
Google don't release specifically what causes their search result rankings. They say what can help, but they don't set out a list of sort of their algorithms for checking.
I think the problem is if they release them, then people will.
Oh yeah.
Create algorithms, but if they don't release them, then no one really knows what's happening, and they'll be accused of manipulating it.
Yeah, exactly.
Last year when Facebook were accused of manipulating the trending.
Yeah.
So and they're damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Yeah, yeah. So Google, I think they do, because of their size and how often it's used, they do certainly have a responsibility. as
Yeah.
such to do this sort of thing, and it's not as if they
But
don't have
see,
the resources to do this.
I can't remember off like the top of my head. It's in America. I think it's the Digital Millennium, where it puts the like YouTube and Facebook aren't responsible
Oh right. Okay.
for what there is actually on their platforms, like
Yeah.
policing it.
Yeah.
Um, unless they actually had proper moderators or something.
Yeah.
But I think also the problem is like, and then especially with it is that they can't be responsible. You cannot expect YouTube or Facebook, despite their size, the sheer amount of content that is posted on any given day.
No.
I mean,
Obviously, you can't expect sort of a team of staff to go through every single article,
and the problem
but they could
the problem
control
is
their algorithms.
algorithms will always occasionally miss stuff.
Yeah,
But
there will
I mean,
always be
I
stuff that slips
certainly
through
could
them.
do more. But
Yeah.
the idea of them being able to just, especially with fake news,
Yeah.
I mean, no algorithm's going to be able to
Oh no.
detect fake news anytime soon. But there's only so much they can probably they could do more than they're doing now. But
Yeah.
there
I,
will always be
yeah.
fake news and hate speech on the
It could
internet.
be
It's the
possible.
internet.
And gifs of cats. But
Yeah, and just for
fake
cats.
news could be detected, but it will be hard to make this verification process reliable, is the big issue here, because if one website picks up a bit of fake news, that's likely to spread to other websites, which could trick any algorithms into thinking, well, this is appearing lots, it must be real. That's the
Yeah.
thing, which is where Wikipedia's thing comes in with the journalists. But even a large team, just the scale of the internet, the amount of content, it won't be doable. But I saw this thing recently where it was Amazon Echo, I think, being asked, is Obama planning a coup? And
Really?
yeah, it went on, I believe this was the question, it was something similar anyway. But Echo then went, because it had been asked a question, it went and checked on Wikipedia
Yeah.
and through Google, and someone had modified the Wikipedia page to say yes. So Amazon Echo then said, yes, Obama is planning a coup.
Oh god.
So that sort of thing's still doable, which hopefully this sort of thing should be able to tackle the issue. Whether it will effectively do so or not, who knows? I doubt it. At least sort of on a massive scale, for sort of a few things and to help verify it for sure, but it's going to be a big task.
Yes, definitely, but
Yeah. So
we'll just have to see.
yeah, so I think that just about rounds it up for this episode of Tech News, the first live stream. First live stream that we've ever
Managed to
done.
get the OBS template and everything working.
Yeah, which, you know, first time, I'd say that's pretty not bad.
Well, Linus can't manage it.
James. So, yeah, so that's sort of how these episodes will work. If anyone's actually watching this, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And
Give up that easy.
Yeah.
Well, just being a realist.
And let us know sort of if this sort of content actually works, what you think of it, maybe what we could do better, that sort of thing. And when we get sort of everything sorted over at SDC, hopefully we can start on the old video production a bit more and get a few more videos rolled out. Hopefully, fingers crossed. If not, we'll just do more live streams like this. But that's definitely something we'll have to do, though, the noughts and crosses. That's something to do, the microbit noughts and crosses. That could work. So, shall we cap off this stream then?
Sure.
Okay, so thanks for watching this live stream, although this will be going up as a video on YouTube. I think as soon as I end the stream, YouTube sets it to unlisted, so this should be public very soon. So if you're listening to this, then it's public, probably, unless I've sent you the link, in which case it's not public yet, but it will be very soon.
Oh.
Complicated enough for you? Bye. Say goodbye, James.
Bye.
There you go. We absolutely nailed that outro, I think. Ta-ra.